Good afternoon, Philadelphia Eagles fans, and good afternoon, NFL fans, to Week 16, coming down the home stretch of the 2018 football season, where this week our Eagles are coming off a victory against the Los Angeles Rams and come back home to play against the 10-4 Houston Texans in what is coming out to be potentially playoff implications on both sides, which a couple weeks ago, when we're sitting at 4-6, didn't look like this was going to be. Now, last week, what did we do? We only knocked off probably the second hardest game, hardest team on our schedule. It's the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, I believe the hardest one, and it proved with the score against the Saints. That absolutely sucked. But last week, nobody gave us a chance, almost like a repeat of last year's playoffs. Nobody gave us a chance to beat the Rams, even though they struggled against the Bears, because they believed they were going to come back, and they were a high-powered offense, even without Cooper Kupp. And we just flat out won in almost all aspects of the game. The biggest thing to point out is what we did to win was balance. From running backs, we ran the ball 28 times. Nick Foles had 2 runs, so he had 30 times. But really, from running backs, 28 times ran the ball. Nick Foles had to pass the ball 31 times, which means we're almost 50-50. This is exactly what we need in order to keep the defense of the other team honest. Not knowing if we're going to run the ball, we're going to pass the ball. Wendell Smallwood had 2 rushing touchdowns. Yeah, who saw that coming? Josh Adams with a rushing touchdown himself. Nobody was over 100 yards, but it didn't matter. We still produced and scored points, which is what mattered. So yes, our offense was absolutely balanced. I think Zach Ertz had either like 2 or 3 receptions. That didn't matter because Alshon Jeffrey was open, had 8 receptions for 160 yards. I don't care about the record. I really don't for the tight end. I don't. What I care about is wins. Nick Foles was able to sit back, keep the plays balanced, run the ball when necessary, not audible out of it, and not lock into a one player like a Zach Ertz. Which, yes, you guys that have been watching my channel know I'm a Nick Foles guy. I hope Carson Wentz is watching. I know it. As soon as Carson Wentz is healthy, he's going to be put right back in. But I think it's a good learning time for him to see, don't lock into one guy, pass to who's ever open, and keep a balanced offense, and you'll have a better chance at winning. And that's exactly what we did on offense. On defense, and I'm actually really surprised to say this, our secondary was not a liability, mainly because of Maddox. That was turning out to be an absolute steal from Pitt, and he did very well in coverage. Also had an interception. Was more than just an interception, but you're talking about a guy that we can put at safety, a guy that we can put at nickel, and a guy that we put on the outside as corner. This guy's turning out to be a complete steal, and put him on the other side as Rasul Douglas. And it looks like we have a pretty good backup crew of corner that's proving to be pretty effective for us. So we got that running for us. You got our D-line. Our D-line getting after the quarterback. And Jim Schwartz finally blitzing. We've been talking about this for weeks. Finally blitzing at opportune times in order to get pressure on the quarterback and having him just throwing it inaccurately on 3rd down like we needed. You know, special teams coming up. When the Rams thought that they were going to fake a punt and actually guarded against that pass and it hit the ground, thank goodness. Now, yes, the special teams could have done a little bit better. Could have been doing a little bit better because Jake Elliott, you could have sealed the deal late in the game. Late in the game, if you get that field goal, we're sitting at 33-23. It's a 2-score game. Instead, it came down to the very, very end. Man, and it was close. But our punter seems to be a very good aspect of our team. And going right back to our defense held this high-powered Rams offense off the board for most of the game until the very, very end. We got to clean that up a little bit, like shades of playing against Carolina. Like, just made me feel very nervous. But I found it very interesting how the Rams were not that smart in the final minute or so of the game, where players failed to get out of bounds and stop the clock. and then the passes weren't there to give at least a player a chance to catch the ball and send it into overtime. You got to think with the high-powered offense of the Rams, what that translates into. Moving on to talking about Houston. Houston looks a lot like the Rams, a lot not like the Rams, where they might not have a Gurley. I mean, not many teams do. Gurley is one of the top running backs in the league. So we don't have to face necessarily that, which means we can't sleep on whoever they do have, because we defended well against Gurley. Even though he had his touches, he had his touchdown, he had his yards, he's going to get that. It's very hard to stop that guy completely. But then they do have a high-powered wide receiver. One that we thought we were going to get a couple years ago with Hopkins. But you know Watson is going to zone into, he's going to lock into Hopkins. You know that. Which means Graham, as our safety, has to cheat over to that side and put Maddox on him all day. The guy is fast, and the guy had a ridiculous amount of receptions even last week. And then you have to talk about Watson. Watson is twofold. He can run the ball. There's a very big run threat, but he also gets sacked all the time, right? Which means this blitzing that we are doing, like our front forward should be able to get after him. I'm looking at Bennett and Cox, Chris Long, and Graham to be able to get after Watson and continue to sack this guy and create turnovers and once in a while, yes, safety blitz or corner blitz. Because this guy gets sacked a lot, which means the offensive line is not that good, or they have to overcompensate for what Watson's thinking he has to do with his legs, and that's a lot of trouble. Defense, yes, we're going up against a tough defense again. You got J.J. Watt and Clowney. That's not a gimme whatsoever. Yes, we just got off of a game where we held Donald and Sue to 0 sacks. 0 sacks. Nobody thought that was going to happen. 0 sacks, and especially against Nick Foles, which is not as mobile as Carson Wentz. So that means two things, or just one. Like our offense was able to block for Nick Foles in such a way and double up on Donald to keep him safe so he could pass to all of, like Alshon Jeffrey and Golden Tate and Zach Ertz, all those other guys. We need to do that again. Yes. It's not going to be easy. Houston is not a walk in the park whatsoever. They're 10-4, and they're looking to try to wrap up the second seed. You better believe they're going to come here to play. But there's things they're going to work out in our favor. And one of them I'm dealing with right now. It's rainy right now. It's cold, but this is Philly. Which means you got to deal with the cold, but you also have to deal with us as fans. This place has a little bit of hope. A little bit of hope, and that's all we need to make the playoffs. In many different ways. I'm going to go over that in a second, but many different ways. But this place is our home. If nothing else, we ain't giving up here. We still got a shot. And if you still got a chance, you better believe we're going to be loud. We're going to be proud, and we're going to just yell our heads off anytime Houston has the ball. And quiet when our offense has the ball. Because, yes, here's the quick breakdown. We need Minnesota to lose one more game if we win out. We don't control our own destiny. And Minnesota plays Detroit and then Chicago. Now, divisional game against Detroit, anytime a divisional game comes up, it's not a gimme. I mean, think about it. Seattle just lost to the 49ers. Nobody saw that coming either, because Seattle absolutely smoked them before. So anything's possible. We're diehard Detroit Lions fans in Philadelphia this week. But that also means we have to handle our business. The Saints helped us out by beating Carolina, which means now we're beating Carolina with record because Carolina has a tiebreaker against us. And then we have the tiebreaker against Washington, and we play them next week. But we can't worry about any of that stuff right now. This week, what we have to control is what we control in this building on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And that starts and ends with beating the Houston Texans. So all we need is a chance. That's it. But it looks impossible, and that's the way it has to happen here in Philadelphia. Last year, we're rolling into the first seed, and then who knows what was going to happen then. this year, right now, we're on the outside looking in. We need to continue to fight and fight our way into the playoffs. And we need to beat the Houston Texans at 1 o'clock here at Lincoln Financial Field. So anytime we got a game going on, we got a little bit of hope, we got a lot of heart, I'm going to give everything I got, along with every fan here in Philadelphia, and hopefully we coming away with a win and get that much closer to potentially getting the playoffs and making some noise. Let's go Birds, baby! E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! Beat Houston! Yeah!